Welcome to Kelley Momentum. My name is Hal Beresford, and I'm a first-year MBA student here at Kelley. Today in the show, we've got Kyle Cattani, full-time MBA program faculty chair and professor and E2 fellow in operations and decision technologies. Today, our subject is Kyle's time, experience, and thoughts on operations management, including here at Kelley, and we are so pleased to have him on the show. Kyle, hello.
Thank you very much, Hal. I'm delighted to be here.
We're delighted to have you here, and I know everyone else is too. In recent past, we've seen lots and lots of changes in operations and decision sciences, and there's been a lot of focus on how technology has been improving over time. We can think of the analytics, we can think of the internet, we can think of the cloud, all those things there. But there hasn't been necessarily as much talk about what hasn't changed. Do you see any areas of analytics or decision sciences or operations management that you think have sort of continued to stand the test of time and continue to have relevance today in the business world?
Sure, that's a great question, Hal. Operations management has been around for as long as there have been companies. You know, every company sells something, and operations management is about how they get that product to the customer. So as a part of operations management, for example, supply chain management, the Romans were good at supply chain management. But what's changed in the last few decades is the amount of information that's available and the amount of information sharing. But your question is actually asking me about what stayed the same. And I would, those of the alumni in the audience who were in my class in operations management know that we talked a lot about how we manage in the presence of variability. And that's been a constant. You have to figure out how to deal with uncertainty, how to forecast, how to manage with variability of the customer demand, the variability of your workforce, all of these things. So queuing models come into play, or just even inventory models that take account of variability. This is a constant that has been around for, all of my career, which is now in the decades, and will continue to be an issue going forward.
Yeah, variability, absolutely. And one of those things that we can never get away from fully, I guess. We can only try to deal with it. What are some ways that you see that are new that people have been able to handle that variability better in recent years compared to, say, 5, 10, 15 years ago?
Sure. A lot of variability can be handled if you get better information. So better forecasts, we now have the ability to gather more information than we used to. Everything from just the way things are being tracked now, going from RFID chips. Well, actually, it started with barcodes, then RFID chips. Now we've got blockchain and ways of gathering information about our supply chain and about the condition of everything at any instance. All this information, as it becomes available, needs to be crunched through the analytics that will help you to create better forecasts and better able to anticipate what's going to happen. So you're absolutely right that the variability is going to exist, but our ability to manage in the presence of variability or to anticipate it will improve. One of the long-standing approaches to managing variability is to design your product and processes to be robust to the variability. So looking for product commonality or looking to postponement strategies that will allow you to keep the product generic as long as possible, which is a form of pooling, and then allows you to differentiate once you know what the customer demand actually is. So I've just given you an example of both the long-standing approach, but also how it's changing as we're able to manage information differently.
Yeah. And I know you co-published a paper earlier this year where I think you did actually look at, with your co-authors, variability in a healthcare setting and queuing. Would that be an example of sort of what you're getting at here as well?
Oh, healthcare is a great example. In the United States, it's a huge issue. It's now it's probably more than 18% of our economy, and it's growing at a rate faster than inflation. And so there's been a tremendous amount of focus on how we can manage our costs in healthcare. And so a lot of these techniques will definitely be applicable to the healthcare setting. Mm-hmm. Operations management is is going to be a key factor in managing healthcare going forward.
Yeah. And are there any other industries that come to mind when thinking about places where operations management right now can play a particularly key role?
Sure. So in supply chain management, and I'm thinking like in transportation and logistics, we're on the threshold of, as you know, automotive self-driving vehicles, I guess is the better way to say it. So like self-driving trucks. We hear a lot about self-driving cars, but the real money to be made is going to be in self-driving trucks. Right now, if you've got a truck that goes across the U.S., you're limited to, I don't know, 8 or 9 hours or whatever the limit is for a driver, and then the truck is going to be idle for the rest of the time. If you can replace that driver with a computer, your productivity is going to go way up. You can use that truck 20 some hours a day. So we're going to see huge changes in transportation, not just self-driving trucks, but there was an article in the paper yesterday or the day before about these little self-driving delivery things that are at college campuses that look like a giant ice box that go around the sidewalks delivering stuff to students. So the last mile problem has been a huge deal to supply chains, especially as we go to internet-enabled supply chains and online retailers. The last mile is a big deal, and so there will be a lot of innovations that we'll see over the next decade or two in how the product gets actually to the end customer. So these examples in Purdue were pretty cool. I saw one in Purdue. They have all these little self-driving is the wrong word. They're just these little, they do really look like ice chests on wheels that are driving around delivering stuff to customers.
Yeah. Kind of makes me think of Star Wars, like a little Star Wars droid.
Yeah, they are. They're
sort
very
of
much
moving
like
around.
the Star. Yeah, they are, and I think that we will see a lot of that. This is actually a big issue in operations management. We've gotten a lot of press in the last few years about the loss of jobs in the U.S. based on outsourcing, but by far, much larger in impact will be the jobs that will be lost due to automation, whether or not it's in deliveries like I just discussed, or whether it's retailers. All the grocery stores in Bloomington are moving pretty quickly towards these self-checkout where so a number of jobs are going to change because of automation. The American worker, actually the world worker, needs to figure out how to have skills and be equipped with solutions that will actually keep them as important employees. It won't be good just to be a truck driver or to be a retail clerk. Those jobs are going away.
Yeah. And I imagine you're probably seeing among students a reasonable amount of interest in healthcare and in transportation in these areas that you're talking about just for that reason.
Healthcare is a big one. We place a number of students in healthcare. And we are supply chain. Interesting, supply chain jobs are fairly recession-proof because when the economy starts slowing down, companies look to reduce costs. And so they're still willing to hire MBAs to help them figure out how to get cost out of their supply chain. And so those will be some of the more recession-proof jobs, if you will, because yes, firms are looking for good ideas on how to do things more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.